Hey guys, this is Jessica, and today I'm going to be creating this art journal page using some of the supplies from the January 2021 Mixed Media Inspired box. So I'm starting on a page in my Large Dilutions journal, and I had already gessoed this page previously. I'm just going to start laying down a bunch of colors of Dina Wakley Media Heavy Body Acrylic Paint. So I have the colors Sky, Aloe, Evergreen, and Olive, and I'm just brushing them on really in no order and just until I fill the page, and I'm kind of putting colors where I feel like they need to be. So this is very intuitive, just putting down color. I'm not really worried about it. If it blends, great. If it doesn't, that's great too. It's mostly just to get something on the page and then go from there. So I'm putting down some more of the olive towards the bottom because I didn't really feel like there was much color down there. I'm going to blend that out a little bit and then let this dry. And then because I just don't know when to quit, I came back and fussed with it some more and added a little bit more paint of the olive and then some of the sky to add a little bit more blue. And now I'm going to let it dry. So now that the paint's dry, I'm going in with a stencil and distressed translucent grit paste. And this is a texture paste that has a very sandy texture to it, but because it's translucent, it's going to dry pretty much clear. So I'm just moving this stencil around until I get the coverage that I want it to be, and then I'm going to let this dry. So this grit paste was drying for about 3 hours before I got to this step. And you can see it's pretty much clear there. Where it's a little bit thicker in some areas, you can actually see the paste, and that is normal. And I'm just going to go over some areas with lime paint and a dry brush, and I'm very, very lightly applying it. So it's mostly just picking up the texture of the grit paste. Some of it's getting on the page, and I'm just going to smooth that out with my finger, as you can see I just did. And I'm just kind of going along, and I'm creating a very old grungy look here, and like the paint has kind of worn off is what I'm going for. So I'm just going to smooth that out until I'm happy with the coverage. I'm not wanting it to completely cover the background. I'm just doing it to highlight this pattern. And the reason why this is working is because I have very, very little paint, mostly no paint on that brush. And that's what's allowing me to do this very abstract look. So now I'm going to put down some drops of Finnabar liquid acrylic in ink black, and I'm just going to smooth that out with my finger and then go in with a spray bottle of water and a tipped page, and what happens happens, and be at peace with it. So I'm tipping that page and letting it run, letting it drip, run through the grit paste, and then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to keep doing it until I like the coverage, and then I'm going to use a brush to just spot treat areas that I want to be a little darker, as you can see here. And then I'll spray those with water and let them move and do their own thing. I'm just going to keep doing this until I like the look of it. And the reason why I'm just spot treating areas is because I want some of them to be darker. So that's what I'm just going to keep doing that. And then I got out some dictionary paper and my scribble sticks, and I'm just drawing directly onto the dictionary paper and creating these teardrop shapes or petals, and that's what I'm going to end up doing, is cutting them out to be flower petals. So I'm doing this in a few different colors. So the first color I used is magenta, and now I'm using blackberry. I'm just going to keep going along, drawing enough to do flowers. Now I've switched to sky, just drawing these petal shapes. And I'll do this on a few sheets of paper. But before I go to do the next one, I'm just going to activate these and allow them to dry while I'm working on my next piece. So using some water and a wet brush, I'm just going to go over the lines to slightly dissolve them and pull some of that color into the center of the petal. Now, because the scribble sticks are a pigment stick, they do react with water. So that is how I'm able to get this look here. Now, dictionary paper is very thin, so I don't have much water on my brush. If I did use too much water, it's going to basically disintegrate this dictionary paper. So I'm using very light amount of water, just enough to activate the sticks, and then I'm going to let this dry 100%. So after they were 100% dry, I did cut them out with my scissors, and you can see the couple other colors that I created off camera. So there's ocean, lemon, and eggplant scribble sticks. And so I'm just going to start putting these petals down in a normal flower configuration, 5 petals, and then let them dry. So I'm starting with the blue, and I'm just, making them also, spacing them out so that the centers of the petals touch. And that's how I'm deciding how far and how big these flowers are going to be, just so like the centers of each teardrop that I cut or each petal that I cut earlier matches in the center. And I'm just going to keep doing this and layering the flowers on, working from flower to flower to flower. So the last one I have to do here is the yellow flower. And I laid out all the petals to decide how I want them to look, and then I'm lifting each individual petal and applying some Dina Wakley Media Ultra Thick Gel, and then placing it down. And the reason why I'm using Ultra Thick Gel for these is because there's about a 10-minute drying window on ultra thick. So if I wanted to lift the petal and move it slightly, make some adjustments, I do have some forgiveness with this medium. So I'm just going to, like I said, continue around and glue down all the petals after I decided how I wanted them placed. And smooth it out with my fingers and then let that dry completely before I move on to the next step. So now I'm going to place some sequins in the center of each flower, and I'm just going to show you one, but I did the same steps on all 5 flowers. So I'm going to take 5 white sequins and place them on the edge of each center of the petal. So there's 5 petals, there's 5 sequins, as you can see here. And I'm going to kind of follow that same pattern as I did the flower. And then there'll be a hole in the middle, and the hole in the middle will have a gold sequin in it. And I'm just using a craft tweezers and then dipping the sequin into the glue and then setting the sequin in place. And I find this is the easiest way to deal with sequins, as they're kind of small for your fingers and they can get kind of fussy. So as I mentioned, I did this for all 5 of the flowers. And now I'm going in with some Finnabar liquid acrylic, and I just watered it down a little bit with some water, and then I'm using a dip pen to draw in all of the stems and leaves on these flowers. Now I like using a dip pen when I'm wanting there to be more of a old time looking quill writing, or when I'm not 100% sure if my mediums are dry, because you can't clog a dip pen because you're dipping it into something. So it also ensures that I'm not going to ruin my favorite writing pen. So you can also notice that I'm going back and dipping into the ink that I created. In this case, it's watered down fluid acrylic. But I go back quite often, and that's because the dip pen can only hold so much medium on the tip of it before it runs out. So it is normal to go back and forth quite often. You're not going to get a ton of writing with one dip. So I'm going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm trying to draw in these sketchy stems and sketchy leaves. And I really like this style. That's why I favor a dip pen style, because I like that very rough look. So I'm doing this on purpose. So I'm going to continue these steps until I have stems for all the flowers. So now I'm working on the blue one again, going back and forth, dipping my pen into this watered down acrylic that I've made. And I'm adding in a few sketchy lines. And I really like this, like I mentioned before, this sketchy look. Also, there's no issue with it being, is it right, is it wrong? Oh, my line is off, because there's so many lines. Which one is the right one? It looks very sketchy, and then ensures that if I did make a mistake, it looks like I did it on purpose. So that's one of my secret tricks is sketchy lines cover a multitude of issues. So there's no worry of perfection because I'm not trying to create anything perfect. So I'm just going to sketch in the last stem here and the last leaf. And it did kind of run into the yellow petals, so I'm just going to make this leaf be a little bit lower. Add in the center. And now I'm going to clean off my dip pen with my towel, and this will be done. So now I'm going to go in with a sticker quote from the Art of by Marlene sticker quote book. And this one says, "You belong amongst the flowers." And it was one long strip, but I just like to have things be a little bit more staggered, so I just used my scissors to cut those apart. And then going back in with my dip pen to create some sketchy lines around these stickers as well. Now, I was content with how sticky these stickers were, but if you were worried about it, you could also add some glue to the back of the stickers to just double ensure that they won't come up later. I didn't do that, but you could if you wanted to. And with that, my page is complete. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you were inspired to create your own art journal page. I'd love to see it, so post on social media using hashtag ArtJournalJunction. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Have a wonderful day.